WWE have finally introduced a Women's Midcard Championship. We have been asking for it for years, but finally it has happened. But now the question is, who will be the inaugural Women's United States Championship? Let's get into it. Welcome to Allison Analysis. I'm Ben Allison, and I've analyzed last night's episode of Friday Night SmackDown, and here are my 5 key findings. In at number 5, I cannot wait for the return of heel Ciampa. But the question is Ciampa turning heel on Gargano, or are they both turning heel together? Last night on SmackDown, it made it clear that Ciampa is going back to his old ways. He is tired of being the good guy. He wants results. He wants to go back to his 2018-2019 NXT days for the Blackheart to return. But will Johnny Gargano jump to the dark side with him, or are we going to see a repeat of their feud from NXT? Now, because of how obvious they are making this Ciampa heel turn, I really do think Gargano's turning heel, right? That has to be the twist. Because otherwise, why are they making it this obvious? Why wouldn't they just have Ciampa shockingly turn on Gargano once again? By having this happen more naturally, and Johnny Gargano to slowly become perhaps more on board with the idea of turning heel once again, something we know he's familiar with as well, I mean, this could be really interesting. And I don't want to say DIY have been boring the past year or two, but they've kind of been boring the past year or two, if I'm being completely honest. And I think a heel version of them could be the difference, the revival that they need. And imagine a babyface Motor City Machine Guns versus a heel DIY. I mean, that feud could feed families for months. In at number 4, Randy Orton and Kevin Owens made the piledriver feel as important as it should do. As much as I love AEW, the one thing I hate the fact that they do is that every single week, pretty much, you see a piledriver, and more often than not, they're kicked out of. I mean, if we're being realistic for a second, you are literally being dropped on your head, directly, direct pressure. I mean, this could kill you. It should be treated as one of the most dangerous and protected moves in the entire of professional wrestling, and last night it was treated as such. Randy Orton sounded like a zombie as he was being taken out on the stretcher. Kevin Owens even looked a little bit remorseful. I mean, the way they did it, yes, it was maybe a little over the top, but it made it feel so important. They brought up the fact that the move has been banned for years, and now, you know, when it's done, it's going to feel really important. I mean, the WWE Champion Cody Rhodes left the arena before even making his scheduled appearance just to go and look after Randy Orton. That's how important this was. So it gets a huge thumbs up off me. But before we go any further, I would really appreciate it if I could get a big thumbs up off you. If you guys could like and comment on this video, that would be massively appreciated. And subscribe if you haven't already. Shoot Wrestling Republic, we create between 5 and 10 free videos per week here on YouTube. And in addition to that, we also do a live daily stream every single day for 40 minutes at 8 p.m. UK, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. I hope to see you guys there. In at number 3, why is Candace Laray trying to join Nia Jax? I mean, this was my biggest question coming out of SmackDown, because I'm going to be honest, it makes no sense to me at all. Candace Laray is already a champion. She's the speed champion. And sure, they don't really acknowledge that on WWE TV, which I still don't really understand. But even still, she's a champion. Why is she now trying to be Nia Jax's lackey? I mean, when it happened with Tiffany Stratton, at least it was slow and it made sense. And then she won the Money in the Bank. It all, you know, there was all reasons for it. And you could understand, you could see where it's going. But with this, I have no idea where it's going. My only idea is perhaps Candace LeRae is going to cost Tiffany Stratton her cash-in. And I hate that, but maybe that is the direction. And I also don't like how they're just pretending Indy Hartwell never existed now. Like, before they released her, they should have written her off in some capacity, just so you're not insulting the intelligence of the viewer. Listen, it's entirely possible I'm judging this way too early, right? It's early days in this storyline, but it just doesn't make sense to me. But hopefully they have a long-term plan, which I'll end up praising. In at number 2, the OG Bloodline are back together, but will there be a 5th man? The War Games is now official between the OG Bloodline and the new Bloodline, but does this mean they are breaking the 5v5 yearly tradition? What was interesting was last night when Solo Sikoa initially pitched the idea for War Games, he did say 5 versus 5. Now, of course, when he said that, he did think Sami Zayn was going to be on his team. So now is it going to be a 4 versus 4, or are both teams going to try and find a 5th member? I mean, there's so many people in that family, in fact, even signed to WWE according to reports. So you could easily, find a couple of people to add into this storyline, and you've got a few weeks to make it make sense. But what you also could do is have Kevin Owens come back to SmackDown next week, absolutely furious that Sami Zayn has forgiven Roman Reigns, and then have Kevin try and take out Sami Zayn before he can even team with them. Then Cody comes out, he makes the save, he inadvertently gets involved, and then bang, you have a 5v5 again. But at the same time, Kevin Owens then would be teaming with the Bloodline himself. And yes, it's a different Bloodline, so I guess you could make it make sense. But even still, I'm not sure how I'd feel. From a purely storyline perspective, I do think at this point a 4 versus 4 is the best move. It makes the most sense. But at the same time, you guys know me, I'm a sucker for tradition. So I would be a little annoyed, just personally, that they're not doing a 5 versus 5 this year. But I think a lot of fans are completely fine with a 4v4, so it could just well be me being a little bit too by the books. And in at number 1, WWE has finally introduced a Women's Midcard Championship on the main roster. It's long overdue, people have been asking for it for years and years, but it is finally happening, and we have the Women's United States Championship. And I know quite a few people aren't happy that it's, just a men's title renamed with women's on the front. And I understand that. In fact, I said a really similar thing a few months ago when these titles first started getting talked about. But a few women's wrestlers actually reached out to me at the time, and they brought up an absolutely brilliant point. And that point was, if you're a young girl watching WWE and you see women fighting for the same belts as the men are fighting for, well, then it makes you feel like anything is possible. It makes you feel like there's the same amount of opportunities for you. And that is something which I had never thought about, but it is a brilliant point. So I have no issues with this name whatsoever. But now the question is, who will be the inaugural champion? As far as I'm concerned, there's only one person it should be, there's only one person it could be, and that has to be Chelsea Green. I'm not going to do the voice, but it just has to be her, doesn't it? She has been so good with every single opportunity she gets given. She's kind of understood that it's unlikely she's going to be a women's world champion, at least anytime soon. So she's pulled off the mid-card role better than anyone has in years in both men's and women's division. So I'd love to see her get rewarded for that and for her to be the first US champion. But what about you guys? Who would you like to see win the belt? Let me know in the comments down below. But overall, I really enjoyed last night's episode of Friday Night SmackDown. It was a lot of fun. It was easy to watch. The Candace Laray, Nia Jax stuff was the only real issue I had. But yeah, I'm excited to see where things go. Will it be a 5v5 War Games, a 4v4 War Games? Well, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!